Hello there, welcome along. It is Business Connections Live. My name's Steve Harland. This is program number 34 and it's great to have your company with us live on this Wednesday night. As always, here we are in the studio, and if you want to get involved with the program you can email us here at studio@businessconnectionslive.com. You can also Twitter us as well. We're going to be twittering all the way through the program, and if you'd like to, you can also subscribe on the subscribe button, and then you can become part of the Business Connections Live community. Now, our guest this evening is Prem Goani. He is the CEO of a social outsourcing company which employs, well, it employs young ladies and gentlemen, actually, apprentices. And the nice thing about it is that it's actually putting a little bit back into the community. But what we're talking about this evening, first of all, is we're going to be talking about what social outsourcing is all about. Now, we come back to this on a regular basis. We talk about social media on an ongoing basis. If you look on our website, you'll see that LinkedIn is one of our most popular programs that we've actually done, and if you just check out the website that's on the screen there, you can find out more about how to use LinkedIn, how to make it more effective. But say your business doesn't have the opportunity or the time to sit down and do what is now becoming increasingly more important for small to medium scale enterprises, and that is social networking, working with social networking to make certain that it works with you. Prem, it's lovely to have you with us this evening. Prem, before we start talking about and getting into social networking, let's find out a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are. You're the CEO of the business.
That's right. That's right.
So tell us a little bit about you and the business as well. How did it all get started?
57 years old. I've had a bit of a roller coaster of a career. I was a sales guy back when a 10 gigabyte drive was the size of your desk drawer in your office there, Steve. I was an engineer in my early days. I was a internet entrepreneur with useless timing in 2000 when I was actually hoping to become a billionaire and failed. It all disappeared. But I did run a $100 million e-commerce company at that time in the IT space. After that, I've been for 28 years in corporate servitude, really, working for a number of companies around the world. West Coast, East Coast US, China, Germany, lots of very, very interesting.
So the thing is, you've been around a bit then. You understand the industry. Was it a techie company that you were
Yes, all my life I've been involved in technology. I was lucky enough to meet a lady called Penny Power and her husband Thomas Power back in '87 when they were creating what is very possibly the world's first social media platform, which is called Academy in those days. And I was member number 1,872. They ended up with millions, over 10 million, I think, members. But what it did was get me engaged in social media and digital. And my career has spanned, I think, probably 10 years or so of being involved in that sphere.
I mean, you're obviously running your own business now, social outsourcing. But let's talk for just a moment about the importance of social media for a small to medium scale enterprise. In fact, for any business, we're seeing it's becoming increasingly more and more important. But is there a big generation gap between this? Do we have one generation or one part of our demographic in the country that goes, don't really get all of this, therefore it's of no importance to me, and we have another bit that's sort of blazing forward, all steam ahead, and they do understand what social media is all about? Do you see that? I mean, you're the same age as I am.
Yeah.
We get it, but do other people of our age get it?
Increasingly so, I think, is the answer to that. The 18 to 30, well, actually the 4 to 35, 40-year-old demographic get it.
That is one heck of a demographic.
I know.
From 4 to 35.
Exactly. So they kind of get it because they were born with it, or they used it in college or school or whatever it might be. So they understand that. And increasingly, the silver surfers, you and I, and our friends and colleagues are getting more and more savvy with social media and what it can do for them in their personal lives and in their businesses. Take Facebook, for example. Their largest growing demographic demographic at the moment is the 55 to 65-year-olds.
And is that what's making it uncool for the younger people?
Exactly right. And that's probably Facebook's biggest problem, is that as parents step in to Facebook, so do, the kids kind of say, I'm out of here. Exactly. Yeah. And therefore they move to, there's always a new platform, right? So whether it's Snapchat or whatever it might be, they move out, whereas Facebook desperately try and come up with new things to pull them back in again. So it's a game.
You have a lot of dealings with businesses. When you go in and you're talking to businesses about their social media, do you come across a lot of blank faces?
Yes, in most cases. So the types of companies that we target, that we talk to, are kind of 5 employee to 50 employee. So it's that kind of size. In most of those companies, it is people like you and me who are running them. And they've heard of social media. They've heard rumours of its potential, but frankly, they don't have time. They maybe have dabbled a little bit, but kind of got bored. And there's not so much blank faces as an understanding that there is something there. They most probably should be doing something yet, but they haven't got time.
Do you think the perception is wrong about the benefits of social media for business?
Yes, I think there is there are 2 extremes, and there's no one in the middle. That's the problem. One extreme is people who have heard rumours that social medias can transform their businesses within a couple of weeks. And there are others who believe that social media is just not for their company. It's
very interesting. We had Antonio Falco on one of our other programs. He was talking about the whole process of sales, and when you're trying to you don't sell off the page, you don't sell really, unless you're selling a product that people want. When you're selling a service, you're not selling off the page, you're not selling off your website. All you're doing is you're poking them a little bit to get that appointment, so you can go in and tell them what you can do for them. Do you think that's the way social media should be used by a small company, or can you actually sell product and item by using the different... And I know all the social media are different. We've got Twitter's doing one thing, Facebook is doing something, LinkedIn is doing something slightly different. But can you actually use it as a means to market?
Yes, you've hit something very critical there on the head there, Steve, is that Twitter is different from LinkedIn, Facebook is different from LinkedIn and Twitter, etc. Social media is just another part of your marketing mix as a small company. So what you need to be able to do is to use it to actually communicate with potential clients, current clients, whoever you're trying to reach, but also to engage with them. Social media is the one way that you can start online engagement. Can you sell through social media? Well, Amazon thinks so. Today they announced, or yesterday they announced, a tie-in with Twitter, which will allow people to use Twitter to actually buy Amazon products without going to the Amazon site. So some big players believe you can. I think if you're in a B2C environment, possibly you can. Yes. If you're in a B2B environment, I think it's more about
all right, now you're throwing all sorts of acronyms at me here. So B2C and B2B, for those people that don't know.
Okay. Business to consumer environment, so typically a retailer.
That'd be B2C.
Selling, correct. And a B2B is a business to business, so classically a company who's selling to other businesses.
Is there, do you think, a huge wastage in what you do? For instance, when we talk to people who come on the programme, we invariably will look at their Twitter following, we'll look at what they're doing on LinkedIn, and if you go back to one of our programs when we had Steve Mills on the programme, we were talking about LinkedIn, he did a mail shot and it went to something like 1.8 million people.
Yeah.
The thing that I always find very surprising is you get quite a low return. Is that to be expected, do you think? That even though people maybe have 9,000 followers, that actually the return on that, when you do anything with them, the actually activity rate is going to be quite low?
You're talking specifically about Twitter in that case with the followers idea. And you have to understand that Twitter is, sending a message out on Twitter is akin to sticking a notice under a windscreen wiper in a car. Right, it is. You hope that you've hit the right person with that message. That what they do is that they don't just pick up the leaflet, screw it up, and throw it on the floor, or that the wind blows it away. Now, that's in the leaflet world, but in the
Have
Twitter
you
world...
Have you got the same things for everything else as well? What
Sadly
about LinkedIn?
not. I can't do this with everything, Steve. I've been practicing this Twitter thing for ages, right? But Twitter, and this explains why there is such a low return rate. Twitter is even worse. It's not so much a wind blowing through Twitter, but it's a hurricane. More and more people are using Twitter on their mobile phones, as probably you are. And on there are probably 8 to 10 messages that you can see, which, depending on how many people you're following, fly past in a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
So that wind blowing them off that windscreen is hurricane force.
So really what we've got to do is we've got to identify when the wind is low and the right time to actually be using it.
Correct. And target better.
And target better.
Yeah.
I suppose the question is then that if you target better, is it repetition? Is it the amount that you send out? A lot of people, of course, will send out a single message and they won't follow up. A lot of people don't enter or engage in a conversation when they're using any of the social media networks. How important is it to socially engage with people?
Critical to engage with people. But your question is about the volume of messages that you should send out to be able to engage.
We had Brad Burton on the other week. I love Brad. I think he's one of the nicest guys I have ever met. Also, absolutely inspiring. The number of people that have come up to me and said, I've watched the entire Brad Burton programme and it just inspired me to get out there because the bloke was talking my language. But he does 176, on average, 176 Twitters a day. Or tweets, rather.
Thank you.
And the thing about that, I mean, that is a huge number, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And I wonder, is that too many?
Two schools of thought. Brad's school of thought is no, and he's proving it. Other schools of thought are that you should be targeting your messages. I believe, and what we as a company do is we create a noise level where what we're doing is probably getting out 6 or 7 tweets a day, or maybe 10 or 15, but then we supplement that with some very specific high value messages and then engage. It is all about engagement, and engagement is not only because you send out a message and someone engages with you, it's also because you engage with other people out there. So you've got to listen. Social media predominantly is about listening.
Right. Okay, let's move on a little bit from that. A fascinating evening. Now, we're going to come back to Prem in just a moment and talk about maybe some of the big wrongs, the things that you shouldn't be doing when it comes to your social media strategy. Something that Prem said to me before we started the programme tonight, he said, the thing to remember about any of this is part of your marketing mix. It's something that you do need to be doing, but you can't do it in isolation because like your website, which is part of your marketing, your brochures that you send out, which is part of your marketing. You, when you turn up at a meeting and you're sitting there and you're presenting your business, which actually is part of your marketing as well. All of this plays an integral part. It all works together, and it's getting that fine balance and understanding maybe perhaps the limitations on the individual parts of your marketing campaign, but looking at the whole thing as a whole so that what you do get is something that's going to be effective and is going to work for your business to increase sales and increase profits. So that's what we're talking about. Now, the other fundamental and important piece of any business is getting out there and doing sales. Doing sales, a lovely way of terming it. But it is, isn't it? Picking that phone up and getting that appointment in front of somebody, a client, a potential client. And then there is nothing more satisfying than closing the deal and the money coming in, because that's what it's all about. That's the excitement, the chase, and then the actual getting the contract. Well, last week I was joined by Antonio Falco. He's a sales and business consultant, an absolutely fascinating guy. We talked also about the Federation for Small Business, which was an interesting part of the conversation, but the bit that captivated me was the bit where we were talking about how you go about creating your own sales funnel, how you go about getting those calls, how you sit down in front of a potential customer and you turn them into somebody who wants to buy from you, and how you go about doing that. The guy was fascinating. And just to give you a bit of a reminder of what we talked about on last week's programme, here's Antonio Falco on last week's Business Connections Live. This week I'm joined by Antonio Falco, sales and business consultant and also regional chairman of the Federation of Small Business.
You know, we go into business because we're passionate about what we do. We're passionate about being the best printer, about being the best web designer, about being the best IT consultant. We're passionate about those things. You're passionate about producing the best possible business programs for corporates. That's what you do. And none of that, nobody ever tells you, but by the way, in order to make that work, you need to start seeing people. In the first instance, most people don't understand where they're meant to be starting from. And so the starting point has to be, here's my product or service, who do I think it's going to appeal to? But there's an understanding of what it is your product can actually do for somebody. I think people are buying confidence. Confidence in the fact that when you say to them, my product or service will sort this problem out for you, that's what they need to believe. Selling is about trying to understand what the problem is and how you can solve it. Once you do that and you do it properly, you'll make the sale. If you're making a phone call, then the objective of the phone call is what? It's to make an appointment. And I say to people, the starting point is have 6 questions ready that you need the answer to that qualifies whether or not in reality you're talking to a prospective customer. Yes, hello, my name is Antonio Falco. I'm a sales and business consultant, and I'm also the regional chairman for Surrey and West Sussex for the FSB. We had hopefully an interesting show that you've picked up some tips and hints as to how to maybe improve your business. As it's the 33rd show, I'm going to give 3 out of 3. So let me start with these. In sales, what you need to be doing is 1, making sure you understand who you're targeting your product and service to. 2, pick the phone up. Start talking to people. And 3, at some point, you need to ask for the order. You're looking to make the transaction. Business. I believe business is about 3 things: products, people, and figures, the numbers. When it comes to product, do not compromise on what you're selling. Always deliver the very best that you can. When it comes to people, and last week you heard Steve Bridger talking about communicating, the first person to communicate to is yourself. You need to tell yourself that actually what you're doing is right, you're doing it in a proper manner with integrity, and that you're looking to help people. And the third thing is numbers. You need to set yourself a target. If you don't aim for something, you won't hit anything. Targets in business is very, very important. And third, let me finish on just in general points, if I may, Steve. Business is about being persistent and consistent. There's no overnight success. This is not Britain's Got Talent. This is serious. It's about making your business work, and to do that, you have to be persistent and consistent. And you have to have faith. Because if you don't believe in yourself and your business, I can assure you, nobody else is going to either. Have faith in what you do, make it better as you go down the journey, but just do what you need to do.
Sales and business consultant Antonio Falco. It was a terrific evening. I loved the show. If you haven't seen the show yet, can I only suggest that you go to our YouTube site or to our main site. The main site is businessconnectionslive.com. There it is on the screen if you go to the YouTube site. And in fact, if you're watching this program on YouTube, don't forget, there's a little thing just up here, just about there. It says subscribe. Please do subscribe to the site. If you don't press that button, there's another button just underneath us as well. You can press that one. We like subscriptions because we like buttons too, but the thing that's good about it is if you do that, it helps us because it means that we can continue making the programme for you. And at the end of the day, it doesn't cost you anything. So press the button, subscribe to the channel, and at least that way we know that you're also supporting us. My guest this evening is Prem Gyani. He's the CEO of Social Outsourcing, which employs and mentors young apprentices from disadvantaged backgrounds and outsources them to local SMEs to run their digital presence for them. It's a tricky situation. What do you do when it comes to sorting out your social media? If you haven't got a strategy in place, perhaps maybe your business needs to be thinking about one. If you feel you haven't got time, then maybe you need to be talking to Prem, and we will give you the details to talk to Prem a little bit later on. Prem, if we've talked a little bit about the background behind social media. What are the big mistakes? And we've talked a little bit about Twitter, and it is like, I love that. Going out there, putting a note in someone's car and the wind blowing it away. That is brilliant. But what are the other big mistakes that people do? And not just on Twitter, but right across the social media spectrum.
I think the biggest mistake they make is they try and sell.
But there is that temptation all the time, isn't there?
There is. But I don't know about you, but I think people don't react very well to when you're browsing for clothes in a store and somebody walks up to you and says, "Can I help you? Is there something I can sell you?" What inevitably companies do, because they're all product companies and they've got stuff to sell, is what they do is to want to broadcast the fact that they sell about their stuff and sell it. It's the single biggest problem. It stops people following you, it stops people liking you, it stops people connecting to you on LinkedIn. It is the single biggest problem that companies have. And by the way, in all my career, that's exactly what I did, was just to sell. It's only recently that you kind of discover...
It really is about engaging in a conversation.
It is.
And this is across all platforms, isn't it? This is from LinkedIn. It's not all about selling, even though it is fundamentally a recruitment site. But from LinkedIn all the way through to using, well, Facebook as well, I suppose. It's a place where you put information. I had an interesting thing. I'll name a shame. I got involved with UK business forums.
Yep.
And we think it's important that we're able to tell small businesses that there is a free resource that they can use, that they can come to on a weekly basis, and they can find out other information. So they put you through the process where you have to do 10 or 30, I think it was 30 postings, and then you can then put a URL to actually bring people to the site.
Yeah.
So if you're telling them, if I'm saying I've got Prem on this evening, we're talking social media. If you're a small SME, this is going to be absolutely perfect for you. You can then put that into it. They stopped us for spamming. Yet we're giving away, we're not selling anything.
Yes.
What we're doing is we're promoting a free service to the people who use their forums.
Yes.
But it's all down to the perceptions, isn't it?
It
of what selling is and isn't. And by the way, if anybody is watching this from UK business forums, come on the show. Come on the show and tell us how good your forum is. Yes, it's a great forum. It's got lots of people on it. They're small businesses like we are. But are you being overly cautious, perhaps, sometimes, with the way that you consider, or is it just done by robots and bots? Who knows? We don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? And that's a very good point. You know, when you communicate out, as I said, most companies just try and sell. But honestly, what people want to know when you're selling to them is they want to know about the industry. They want to know about the company itself, the people who run it. So if you're out there telling people that you have a service, that's only 1/3, I believe, of the story. And you would be negligent if you didn't try and sell that service. Absolutely, you have to do that. But another third of what you should be doing is you should be helping them understand what's happening in the industry, whatever that might be.
So you're entering into conversations.
You're
entering into conversations.
Yes, you are. You're interacting, but you're also supplying information. So rather than most companies will go out there and say, buy my widget, buy my widget. My widget is greater than other people's widget, and it's blue.
I'll buy one.
Thank you.
if you've got a blue one.
So I'll just ka-ching. But what you also need to do is to give people information about how they can use a widget, what other widgets are out there that might be compatible with your widget, what a blue widget will do when it's used with a pink scarf. I don't know, right? And then you need to tell people about your company. You need to tell them how that those widgets are not made in China. They're not made with child labour in China. They're made in, Newcastle, for the sake of argument. So you need to tell them about your company and how those widgets are used by specific charities and et cetera, et cetera. So,
is this all subliminal selling, though, what you're doing here? And you're just raising awareness of it?
So when we started this programme, you asked me to tell you a little bit about my history.
You're not going to tell me off now,
No,
are
I'm
you?
not.
All right,
but
okay.
what I'm going to say is that you were interested in me, And I think most people are interested in the people or the company. So although I could just come in and said to you, actually, it's about my company, what I do, what I sell, and that's what I want, that's not the way it works. So in the real world, and I'm old enough to remember the real world, pre-digital and pre-social media, it was all about trying to form a relationship with somebody. And when you kind of think they're credible, I'm going to listen to what they say. They know not only about their products, but they know about the outside world. It's at that time where I'll say, OK, now you can sell to me.
That's really interesting.
And
it is going back to this all the time. You are entering into a conversation.
Yes.
You are engaging somebody in the same way as you would do in any other conversation that you're going to be having. The mere fact that it's electronic is neither here nor there.
Exactly. Just another channel. That's
but
all it is.
Is there perhaps maybe a solution, a quick fix? Is there something that's going to maybe resolve the issue for a business that's starting off on social media? Maybe, I suppose I hesitate at saying it, but maybe a strategy that they should be doing when it comes to social media.
So, yes. But the first strategy they need is a strategy. Again, you highlighted something earlier on today, and that was that social media is just part of a marketing strategy. And I can't tell you the number of people who I engage with who don't have an overall marketing strategy. So very difficult for them to create something that's credible and works for social media if you don't know what you're trying to do elsewhere. You know, what ads you're going to place, what you're going to do, what email shots, etc., email newsletters you're going to do, what your website's doing. So, yes, it is really critical that you have that strategy, and there are many ways of doing it. Technology is an amazing thing now, Steve, is that you can just do stuff with technology which will make people think your company is, you know, you've got people working on this, multiple people working on it full time, which of course you...
All right, so let's look then, first of all, at the strategy that we've got. So we've got a company that you've gone into. We're looking for an easy solution, a quick fix, so we can get them up and running, so they can actually start maybe capitalising a little bit from having social media, or at least getting some interest and generating some conversations, because maybe we should call it conversations and not sales calls. Yes. So the first thing they do is they do what? They just start tweeting about journalistic things, or they start using Facebook. I mean, is there one that is better for a business than another?
It depends on who you're selling to. If you're selling to mums to try and convince them to buy something for their kids, then you need to probably look at Facebook, because that's the demographic they hang out on. If you're trying to sell to senior execs, then go to LinkedIn, because that's where they hang out. If you're looking for a broader demographic, then Twitter's a bit of a catch-all. If you're looking for a very, very young generation, then Snapchat is a place to go. So there is no single platform. What I would suggest, though, is once you understand the demographic that you're going for, then what you need to do is to decide on the most appropriate platform, but then you have to work on all of them a little bit.
Do you think people research well enough when they start doing this? I mean, we're talking... See, all of a sudden now we're talking about demographics, and really what we're doing now, a lot of businesses, I would imagine, don't really know who their customers are. So if they don't know who their customers are, who's going to be their audience when it comes to using social media? Is it a case of stepping back for a moment and really looking at this as a proper part of your marketing campaign? Who is your website targeting? Who is your social media targeting? What are you expecting to get back from both of them? Your page advertising. What's the tone of voice? Who are you talking to? Is it all those kind of things that we've got to be coming and getting thinking about?
Which you and I know as part of an overall marketing strategy for a company. Once you've got that understood, which will answer almost, in fact, all of those questions, you can then say, well, now, how is social media going to help me reach that? And then you can put together a little marketing strategy around social media. But that's the critical thing. Is getting to that.
I would imagine from what you're saying is it has to be considered to be part of your marketing, not your marketing.
Correct.
And I think a lot of people expect it to be their marketing, don't they?
Correct. Because they hear rumours that, you know, by doing a few tweets, by doing some Facebook posts, and by engaging with somebody on LinkedIn, all of a sudden they double. You know, a company out there has doubled the size of their company. It's not real, not the real world. The real world is putting together, as is all marketing, putting it together into a plan and executing the plan.
What about the tools then that we've got that are sitting out there? I know we use, we've mentioned it on the program before, we use Hootsuite, both on our iPads and on our laptops. In fact, we've got our account sitting here on this particular machine at the moment, you can see. So this, if you haven't seen Hootsuite before, This is what it actually looks like. So you've got a whole range of... oh, no, it didn't want to do that, did it? There we go. Thank you very much. It just disappeared there just for a moment. But what's interesting that you've got your wall feeds, which are what you'll see actually on the bottom of our website. If you go to the Business Connections website, you can see here streaming live now. Oh, this is quite an old one. There's Anne's there. If I go all the way down to the bottom of this, you can see that we also comment. We do try to engage with people. We talk about what's happening in the news. We talk about what's happening in the business news. I'll just make that a little bit bigger if I can. You can see the kind of things that we have put up on the wall. Over here, we have our home stream. And on there, we're talking about UK, UK for Business are sitting there. So these are some of the people that we follow as well. And of course, we've got our own stream that's going out. There's Steve Mills, the prudent marketeer. Download my free book, The 10 Biggest Lead Generation Mistakes. Steve's a great guy. He really does get the whole idea of what social media is all about. And what's good about Steve as well is that he does actually enter into a conversation with you. Over here, we're looking at our private messages. We won't go there. Mentions, which is always quite interesting. And the different organisations that do mention you. Retweets of what you've done. Let's just go down here and make certain that we don't make a complete fool of ourselves. Nothing there just at the moment. This is the most powerful bit, I think, though, the fact that you can schedule, and at the moment we don't normally use this machine for actually doing that, but you can schedule both Facebook, Twitter, and a whole number of
LinkedIn,
other social
Google
media
Plus,
sites. You can schedule a message to go out. So you don't have to be doing... Brad Burton, as we said, 170 odd tweets a day. But he is doing it all the time and he's doing it live. But if you're a business, you don't have to be doing that, do you?
No, absolutely not. And Hootsuite is one of a number of utilities that will allow you to upload a number of messages. And for a busy SME where they're very, very focused on their profits and their revenue streams and whether their container is coming over from China in time, for them it makes much more sense to predefine a number of messages and then to upload them to a technology and allow that to emulate their usage.
All right, now we're going to come back in just a moment, and Hootsuite is not the only tool out there, is
No,
it?
not at
There is a
all.
whole range of different tools out there. You're just going to give some names so that people can go look them up on their websites themselves.
Yeah.
We've just looked at Hootsuite there. We'll give you some other suggestions as well. And we'll talk about some of the different sites and some of these new kids on the block as well, which will be very interesting. Now, what we're also going to do right now is that you might remember a couple of weeks back, we were talking about business continuity, disaster recovery. What should happen if maybe your premises were to be flooded, or if your premises were to be burnt down? How could you get back into business again? There's nothing worse. I don't know about you. Do you leave your important files sitting in a computer in your workplace and then you walk out through the door? What should happen if that building, something unforeseen should happen to the building? You couldn't get back in there. It was flooded. You couldn't get to those PCs again. Could your business survive that? A lot of people think that, yes, they probably could, but in fact, the chances are that with the floods that we had just a couple of months back, there were businesses that went out of business because they didn't have a business continuity and disaster recovery plan actually in their business plan. If you don't have one, then you should. Here's somebody that's going to remind you a little bit about what you should be doing when it comes to disaster recovery. Have a look at this. Now, this week I'm joined by Mike Osborne, Managing Director of Phoenix Business Continuity Unit, an acknowledged leader and award-winning continuity and business continuity disaster recovery service.
Phoenix IT Group is a UK-based specialist provider. We provide infrastructure support, break-fix maintenance, application support, help desk services for business. And a big part of what we do involves around supporting IT infrastructure. And of course, as businesses developed over the last decade, email, applications that give 24/7 availability of data on any device, being able to keep those businesses up and running has been a growing part of the Phoenix business. When you look at a lot of the things that have happened, the recent floods, if you go back a decade, some of the terrorist incidents that are fortunately beyond us in recent years, there's a whole profession that has kept business in London, particularly the big financial institutions, up and running through all those crises. The reality is one of the biggest drivers right now to people looking at business continuity is satisfying customer concern. Because if you think about it, what your major clients would be interested in is if they're putting business your way and then they're embedding whatever you do into what they do,
right,
and they've got this big brand and reputation and large customer base to satisfy, if you fail, they fail. When you explain that there are business benefits to this, that you can grow an organisation on the back of having this, rather than it being yet another cost of doing business, they very quickly get it. When you then move on to the fact that it's not as expensive they thought in the first place, you've broken down another hurdle. And in terms of the top 10 threats to business, they say unplanned IT and telecom outages is number 1,
right,
cyber attack is number 2, and data breach is number 3. Well, when I think of disasters, I'd have said fire, flood, terrorism. I don't think I'd have said IT, cyber attack and data breach. So that just shows you how far technology has moved on in the potential threat to business. But you mentioned 9/11, of course, that was America's big terrorist incident and one that really shook the foundations of business continuity and disaster recovery across the globe. The smaller you get, the bigger the actual impact of having a disaster, because you're not resilient, you haven't got a second office. So for the really small firms, it is a topic that they need to look at, but it's really quite simple. If you've got customer names, customer contact details, make sure you've got those outside of a single office. Make sure you've got a copy of them somewhere. If you've got a single telephone line coming in, work with your comms provider to see how quickly it can be diverted, even to a mobile number, if your telephone line goes down. So there's 2 tips there that actually the most important things that small businesses need is to be contactable by a customer or to be able to contact a customer. Mike Osborne, Managing Director of Phoenix's Business Continuity Division. Phoenix is a specialist business continuity. We're 25-year-old this year in terms of delivering disaster recovery and business continuity. We're UK-wide and we're nice people who know what we're talking about. We've talked about a lot on this session. We've created a website for SMEs, which is www.phoenix.co.uk/SME, and on there you'll find a lot of the reference material that I've referred to, a lot of general advice and white papers, and it's all there to review in your own time.
There is Mike Osborne, Managing Director of Business Continuity Division of Phoenix IT Group, with advice on business continuity and disaster recovery. Great guy. Great guy, and the team he works with as well, fantastic. If you want more information, if you just go onto the website, our website, you'll find out more information concerning Mike and Phoenix, the Phoenix IT Group as well, for that matter. While we're just talking about having guests on the programme, our guest on next week's programme is Stephen Thomas. He's the author of Business Networking for Dummies. I can do with that. And also a director of For Networking, which is fantastic. So that brings us back to Brad Burton once again. He'll also be talking about the business show, which takes place at the Excel on the 15th and the 16th of May. Now, if you're not familiar with the business show, we've got a little bit of film where I interviewed one of the organisers of the business show. We'll play that before the end of the programme. That's still all to come. If you are watching this, by the way, at the moment, thank you very much. It's great to have a live audience with us. If you are watching it on our website, thank you very much indeed. Don't forget to sign up for your 14 great tips on how to utilise your very, very best when it comes to YouTube videos. There's a button just up here, that one there, that's your subscribe button. There's also another one just down there as well. Subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on YouTube, it really is important to us. Please do subscribe, because then you become part of the Business Connections Live business network, and it's all about being able to share information with you, get information out to you, let you know when there's brand new programs. We've got some training coming up very shortly in the future. Maybe we'll be doing some training on social media as well, where you can get completely involved as well. So that's all the to come. And just to encourage you a little bit more to press that button, here we are talking about it. If you're a business owner and you need advice on how to make your business more successful, then Business Connections Live TV is just for you.
Our leading industry experts cut out the guesswork for growing businesses. How to use social media, what to expect from your accountant, web design, SEO, and so much more.
Business Connections Live TV is here to give you the motivation you need to succeed.
How you doing? My name's Brad Burton. I'm the motivational speaker that everyone's talking about right now, and I'm on Business Connections Live. What a show! What a show! People, do check it out.
If you're struggling with Facebook and LinkedIn.
Most people that I meet are on LinkedIn. Virtually, there's 14.5 million people just in the UK. I think the figures currently are 238 million people worldwide. But I would say that most of them don't really understand how to use it.
How to present your ideas more effectively.
Hello, I'm Philip Skinner, Shaw Walker Lees. A brilliant way to get message across. I'm actually thinking that we might switch away from our quarterly newsletter to do a video and get it sent through to staff and clients.
To generating leads and finding new business.
Hi, I'm Jim McLaughlin, Managing Director of business development company Axial. And I'd just like to say what a pleasure it's been to have the opportunity to appear on Business Connections Live.
Subscribe and be part of the Business Connections Live TV online community for free.
Business Connections Live TV every Wednesday, 6 p.m. GMT, or catch up on the Business Connections Live TV YouTube channel.
Make certain your business is connected with Business Connections Live TV. Prem was just saying there how subtle that last big button was. Yeah, press the button. We know where you live. You're watching Business Connections Live, and more about the business show in just a few moments' time. Prem, let's go back to talking about what we're talking about this evening, social outsourcing, which is the name of your business.
Yes, it is.
Before you tell us a little bit about what social outsourcing can do for somebody else's company and SME, we were just talking about tools. So what are the key tools that we should be considering getting or using?
Well, I think Hootsuite, which you just demonstrated a little earlier, that absolutely dominates the marketplace. So I think you can't go wrong using Hootsuite. It allows you to, as you demonstrated, it allows you to engage, it allows you to post messages, it allows you to schedule messages, everything that...
And it's not just for Twitter as well, which is what I like about it. It's Facebook,
exactly,
LinkedIn, it's all
Google
there,
Plus
isn't
as
it?
well now. So it's a lot. It supports a lot of the kind of standard social media platforms. If you're not happy with Hootsuite, then there are other products that are very similar. There's a UK product called MarketMe. There's another US giant called Sendable. It's the one that we actually use, and it's just much more scalable than Hootsuite is.
Right.
And especially if you've got a large team of people working together, as we have. So that. From the interaction point of view, that's absolutely the one. Then you also need to look at more holistic things that show you what's happening with your followers, what's happening when you actually engage. You need the statistics given back to you, the analysis. Now, you could use Google Analytics, where you may know of, that probably is running on your website. However, there are some specialist ones. There's something called Social Bro, which is a great name.
Social Bro.
Bro, yeah.
Yo.
Well, don't go there.
Get down.
So,
awesome, my man.
so Social Bro is one we use. Very, very powerful, and it analyzes not only what your accounts are doing, but you can also analyze what your competitors' accounts are doing, which is really useful when you're trying to understand why a competitor may or may not have a step up. And then there are other much more techie things, like Yahoo have a product called Pipes, which allow you to filter out news from various news organizations around the world, filter them out, and then post them as if they were you, which is a great way of adding hot industry, current industry topics to
Because
industry.
everybody's talking about content,
Correct.
isn't it? The content purveyors are the kings of the future, aren't
Correct.
they?
Correct.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
It sounds, though, that it's a big commitment. And I know that even here, between the team that we've got working on the programme, it is a big commitment to get the tweets out, all the way through the week, to make certain that you're reacting when people are retweeting, that you're reading your tweets, you're looking at your LinkedIn, you're looking at your Facebook page, you're looking at your Google Plus page. I mean, there's a lot going on. What do I do if I don't feel I have either the skills or the time to do that? I mean, is that something that, and I don't want this to sound like, here comes the ad, but is that something that a business like yours can actually do? And how do you actually go about doing that as an outsourcing company? Because you know nothing about my business.
That's correct.
So you come in, you're looking from the outside in. I know what I want to achieve. How do you become part of a business to be able to do the social media for somebody?
So the first thing you do, if you don't have the time and don't have the necessary experience, then you stand in a corner of the room, which is my target audience, really.
Oh, right.
As a company, we hire, a typical 18 to 25-year-old who kind of gets this stuff. If you mention social bro to them, they'll do a high five or some weird thing that they do nowadays, right?
It'll be awesome.
It'll be awesome. It'll be cool and dope. So, first of all, they get this stuff. They use this stuff every single day. I hire.
But do they get business?
So they don't when they first join me. And so what I need to do is I bring them in. I have a model that puts 5 of these young apprentices under what I call a grey-haired team lead. It could be a return-to-work mum, it could be a senior grad, it could be something like that. And for a couple of months, they learn about business. When they're ready, they start being engaged with companies like yourself, with people like yourself. And what I found, and this has amazed me, to be honest, Steve, is that I don't have to have a specific apprentice focusing on a specific sector. When I set this up, I thought, okay, I'd have to have one that was interested in or was focused on estate agents or property, another one that was around auto, cars, another one around the travel industry. But what I found is that that typical 18 to 25-year-old gets social media, they get products, and they have an ability, it's an inane ability that they've got, which allows them to just read a paragraph of information and create a short message in a language that I sometimes don't understand. I mean, it has to be grammatically correct, of course, but in a way that attracts people's attention. And so, our team is there to actually help companies who don't have the time to do this. Some of these things like pipes and social oomph and social bro and market me and sendable are not easy products to use. They're insanely powerful.
Are us old grey-haired ones, are we being left behind by the way social media is actually developing and growing? Or are we being left now to do that? You see, now you've gone quiet now, mate. Or are we being left behind to think about the strategy? Do we look at the bigger picture?
Yeah.
Is that what our role is? And to actually outsource that particular role to somebody who does it better than you do?
I think that, I think that a typical SME of that, 50-man SME, the senior management there, in fact, the whole team is probably focused on driving their business. They've got years and years of experience of doing that. When they want to try doing something within a completely new field, and this is a new field, it's still marketing, and still on marketing plan, we've talked about that, but it's a new field using new ways of communication and new technologies, it really is beholden on them to either train up their own staff, and honestly, most SMEs won't do that because their staff is 120% focused on their current jobs. So it is beholden on them to hire someone who can do that, and a young person can do that.
Is that going back to the very first thing you said, that the big mistake that companies make is they think they can do this part, their marketing part-time?
Correct. And even if they decide to hire an apprentice, which they can, one of the things we found, and it's the reason I set up this company, is that to manage somebody who knows a huge amount about something that you don't know anything about is a nightmare. So rather than trying to bring in young people into your organisation, which is a great and laudable thing to do, in this specific instance, it might make more sense to actually outsource it to another company who are specialists in that area, and that's what I set this company up.
So what happens to your apprentices after they've been with you for a while? Where do they go then?
So we're young still, we're 7 months old. My aspiration is that each apprentice will work on between 8 and 10 different SMEs across all sectors. They have a year while they're with me and doing their apprenticeship to showcase their skills, their talent and their personalities through to those. And my aspiration is that one of those 10 will employ them. I've already had one of our clients approach me and say they'd like to hire one of our apprentices. Sadly, I've said no. I need to get some ROI from them. So therefore, I need them to work for me for a good, 9 months before I get them out. But I think the model is very strong.
It's interesting because we met one of your guys, and this is absolutely fascinating, actually. We met one of the guys that came from the company, from Social Outsourcing, one of Prem's guys. That's what I was rapidly looking for there. His name, I can remember his name, I couldn't remember yours.
That's fine, Steve.
And his name is George, and he came in here, and he too was awesome and cool. And he was all of those things, but the thing was, he really, really got business. And I said to you before, I said, if there was an apprentice that we would hire, it would be him. And I said, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but then I said to you, has he always been like that? And you said he's developed, he's grown into this. And I think sometimes that colleges and schools and universities, they sometimes don't prepare people for what it is like in the commercial world. And I think the beauty of what you're doing is that you're taking this raw talent and you're actually showing them the ropes kind of thing so that somebody can come along after you and benefit from it.
That's it, thank you. And that is exactly what we're trying to do. There are hidden things that we do inside the company. For instance, George is responsible for a number of accounts. And after he'd been with us for some months, we started to explain to him the P&L idea. So what we do is we say, you know how much your accounts are paying. Well, George, you know your salary. I tell you that I'm paying this much for your desk. There's something called national insurance. And so they start to run their own P&L. Now, it's not a real P&L, but it gives them an experience of starting to do that.
And there are many organisations and companies where they have their diverse divisions who run their individual P&Ls and have to show a profit and a loss, and they're accountable for it.
And you know what? I can't tell you how happy I am that we have a weekly meetings, obviously, but on the monthly meeting, they come in and they show me graphs of their P&L, and they are competing against each other.
Which is good.
Which is fantastic. And they come up with an idea, which is good for me. It might only be 20, 30, 40, 50 quid, but it's good for them. It's good for them. And I'm hoping that the education I give them will allow them 3 exit options, really, or 3 future options, to go back to your question. One is get hired by one of their clients. Number 2 is get promoted to a team lead within my organisation. Or number 3, and George is this, he's told me this, is George comes from Peckham originally. And he's turned around to me and says that he knows a lot of similar age people in Peckham. He also happens to know a lot of companies in Peckham, and he wants to set up a social outsourcing office in Peckham. Wow. He's not ready for it now. But when he is, wow.
I thought you were going to say that he turns up in a little yellow 3-wheeler.
Yeah, no.
That would have been quite something,
that would have been George Trotter.
George, great guy, actually. Listen, I think it's important to say that just in a moment I'm going to ask you to recap really what we've talked about when it comes to the big mistakes that people make, the quick fix solutions that they can do to their social media, why they should be considering social media as well when it actually comes to going ahead and actually doing it. So if you can prepare yourself for that as well. Before we say that, though, once again, your business name is
Social Outsourcing,
and it's based in
Woking.
And if people want to get more information concerning your organisation, the web address is
www.socialoutsourcing.co.uk.
And when you're looking for it, this is the page that you're going to be finding when you actually do come across it on the website. There you go. Outsource your company's social digital presence to local skilled apprentices and their experienced mentors at affordable prices. We understand your needs as an SME and have developed a flexible pay-as-you-go service for what for you that outsources your social digital presence to affordable, local and skilled digital apprentices who are closely managed for quality and productivity. It's a big claim there, but you can see there, that's all the information that you want. You can find out more about it. Oh, the man himself there is young George. Toast of Surrey Awards 2014. He is a great bloke, actually, and we've been talking to him only today, in fact. Loads of videos on there, lots of latest news. They are really using social media to its utmost. Prem, if you can be prepared to do that in just a moment. Okay. Next week on the programme, who have we got? Well, as I told you earlier on, we've got Stephen Thomas. He's going to be coming on. He's the author of the Business Networking for Dummies and director of the director of 4 Networking. He'll also be talking about the business show which takes place at Excel next week on the 15th and the 16th of May. And just to give you a bit of a flavour of what the business show is all about, we were there last year. We're going next Friday, so if you're there and you see us, do stop me and buy one, and we'll have a bit of a chat about what you think about Business Connections Live. But this gives you a bit of a feel about the business show 2014 is all about.
The show's now in its 15th year. We run the show twice a year, once in May and once in November. And really the show was created to, initially it was created to support business startups. So anyone that's starting a business, either in the embryonic stage or they're in the early stages, to really kind of inspire them and give them the information they need. So obviously there's various different things from business planning to accounting to, obviously now we've got social media. And then over the years the business has evolved. So we now have more people coming that are existing business owners who are really looking to take business to the next steps. So as I said, it's business planning, it's accounting, it's how to sell, how to network. We've got various different features here. We've got Angel's Den, which you can do like a live pitch, which people get really scared. But it's a great opportunity to be able to pitch to, multi-million-pound investors.
We've actually had Ben Kench here, who's actually been on the programme as well. And what's nice about it is the diversity of the different speakers that you have here. 250 speakers. You really are covering nearly every aspect of business.
Yeah, there are, and we aim to do a cross-section. Sometimes the keynote speakers, when people are starting a business, they think, all these keynote speakers, that's great for them, but it's never going to be for me. So we have a cross-section. So I think, it's just about inspiring. Ben's a fantastic guy. He wrote the book Selling for Dummies. So he's a very kind of infectious, gets people really excited, and the importance of what Ben talks about. Selling, I think people underestimate sales as a skill. So whether or not you are looking to get investment, you're looking to network and connect with people, you're looking to sell your business or sell to customers, selling is a key part. That when you start a business, a lot of people think, I can wing it, but it really is an essential skill to teach. So that's why we have people like Ben speaking here to really share from a place of knowledge. These guys have actually been and done the hard yards. So really, it's about giving people everything that they need, and also we look to create great energy. I walked past earlier on and there was someone dressed as an iPhone dancing with one of the exhibitors. So business is fun. But the one thing I would say, and one of the things you asked me earlier was, if people are coming along, we do have a digital show guide online which gives access to all the speakers, all the seminars. So either come along and just get stuck in and see where it takes you, or if there's something in particular that you're looking for, maybe plan your day, because with 350 exhibitors, 250 seminars, it's a massive amount to cover. So over 2 days, and everything's free as well. So we do say come along and get stuck in.
As we said, this one's finishing today. When's the next one going to be?
The next one's on the 15th and 16th of May in Excel. We run the event twice a year, and the next one's coming up in November. So yeah, we've got May and then November next year.
That was last year's show. Fascinating show it was as well. And as I said, we're going again next Friday. We're looking forward to that. And next week we've got Stephen Thomas. We're also hoping to have one of the organisers of the show coming on as well. But it's a bit of a tricky night, Wednesday night, because obviously the next day is the show. So they're probably running around like headless chickens at the moment, getting the show all prepared. But it should be a good evening next week. So if you've got the time, don't forget, next Wednesday night at 6 o'clock, we're going to be absolutely live. Stephen Thomas, author of Business Networking for Dummies. Talking about this week in the diary, tomorrow night, Thursday, we're going to be at the Surrey finals of Young Enterprise Innovations Award. So good luck to all of you who are taking part in that. If you are watching the programme this evening, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. It's a bit of a relaxing night for us. We're normally filming at those and interviewing people. We're just going to enjoy tomorrow, so that should be fantastic. All right, that nearly wraps up the programme. A few reminders from me in just a few moments' time. My guest this evening has been Prem Gyani. He's the CEO of Social Outsourcing, which employs and mentors young apprentices from disadvantaged backgrounds and outsources them to local SMEs to run their digital presence for them. It's a great idea, it's a great concept. If you are having problems with your social media, could this be the solution that you're looking for? And the nice thing about social media, you don't have to be where we are. Obviously, we're based in Surrey, down by Heathrow Airport is where we are. But of course, you could be anywhere in the country and have an organisation just like Prem's actually running your social media for you, because it can be all done electronically and down the telephone, which is what's so clever about this. Prem, we always ask our guests to give a bit of a takeaway really for our viewers, the things they need to remember about social media, what they should be doing, the big mistakes, if they're making them, they can go, crikey, I do that, going to stop doing it, and some of the quick wins that they can use when it comes to social media. And maybe just tell us a little bit more about how your business can actually help. So, number 3.
It's something that you have to add to a marketing mix. Don't make the mistake of believing that social media is some kind of standalone solution to your business and will suddenly transform it. It is something that needs to be bolted on to a current marketing strategy. So the first thing to do is, of course, get a marketing strategy and then look at what social media can do. When you do start looking at the strategy for social media, don't believe that the only thing you're going to do is to sell your products, because that just doesn't work. Social media is about engaging people, interacting with people, and getting people to like you. In fact, you should probably read a book by Penny Power called Know Me, Like Me, Follow Me, which is one of my Bibles, to be honest, and it goes through that thought pattern. So instead of just selling to them, tell them a little bit about your company, about your management team, about yourself, what you had for dinner on a Sunday works really well, all those kinds of things. And you can use technologies like Hootsuite or Social Oomph or Social Bro or MarketMe or any of the other ones I've mentioned to actually automate some of this stuff so that you don't have to spend all day working on it. It's something that you can probably spend a couple of hours a month doing, and then just leave it alone until 3 weeks later, and then load up the next month's. It's relatively easy to do. Finally, if you do start doing that and you get to a stage where you still don't have enough time, that's where I would love to hear from you. I hire 18 to 25-year-olds from severely disadvantaged backgrounds. One of my apprentices is profoundly deaf, for instance. Another one has got a history of, knife crime, etc. But I hire them, I put them into a local course, I then teach them about business, and I then would love to hire them out to a company like yourself to do your social media for you. The model is built around a very low-cost solution, so we provide a high degree of value because we automate some stuff, because we understand the technology, and because these young people frankly know how to communicate online. We charge, and if you don't mind me kind of saying that, we charge £249 a month for the service, so it's affordable by I think most people's thought patterns, and we charge another £199 for a setup. In fact, if you were to mention that you saw me and the lovely Steve here on this programme, then maybe what we could do is to discount you the setup fee on that. There is, by the way, no minimum contractual period. They run on a 30-day month-by-month. So the risk to your company is very low. The gain potential is very high. So my last comments are, don't ignore social media. Get involved no matter what type of company you are. 17% of the revenue of the GDP of the UK comes from the digital economy. If you're not involved in it, then you're missing roughly 20% of your opportunity. That's it. Thanks,
there we
Steve.
are. Thank you very much indeed. The lovely
pleasure.
Steve here. I might start using that on a professional basis. Listen, Prem, it's been an absolute pleasure having you with us. While the plugs are going on, by the way, don't forget, if you thought the programme tonight has been entertaining and hopefully informative as well, you could have a programme just like this one for your business. Just get in touch with us and we'll tell you about the virtual newsroom. It's a new service from us here at Business Connections Live. There's the website. Just simply go online. It enables you to produce your own 15-minute programme specifically for your business or your organisation. You can come into the studio, we'll sit down, we'll do it exactly the same way as we're doing it here with Prem. We'll ask the relevant questions, we'll make certain that it is branded for your organisation, and then you can use that maybe perhaps instead of a newsletter or something like that that you send out on an ongoing basis for your business. Just contact us at studio@businessconnectionslive.com. Simply get in touch with us there and we'll explain more, or give us a call on the telephone 01784 257, that's not right, is it? 256 777. It's all on the website. Couldn't remember the own number. Listen, till we do it all again next week, thank you very much indeed. It's been an absolute pleasure. Prem, thank you very much for being with us. Hope you've enjoyed it tonight.
I have. I've loved it.
It's been great fun.
Thank you.
And very informative too. Listen, get on your Twitter, get social networking, get out there. Tell people what you're doing. We'll see you soon from me. Bye for now. Bye-bye. If you're a business owner and you need advice on how to make your business more successful, then Business Connections Live TV is just for you.
Our leading industry experts cut out the guesswork for growing businesses. How to use social media, what to expect from your accountant, web design, SEO, and so much more.
Business Connections Live TV is here to give you the motivation you need to succeed.
How you doing? My name's Brad Burton. I'm the motivational speaker that everyone's talking about right now, and I'm on Business Connections Live. What a show. What a show. People, do check it out.
If you're struggling with Facebook and LinkedIn.
Most people that I meet are on LinkedIn. Virtually, there's 14.5 million people just in the UK. I think the figures currently are 238 million people worldwide. But I would say that most of them don't really understand how to use it.
How to present your ideas more effectively.
Hello, I'm Philip Skinner, Shaw Walker Lees. A brilliant way to get message across. I'm actually thinking that we might switch away from our quarterly newsletter to do a video and get it sent through to staff and clients.
To generating leads and finding new business.
Hi, I'm Jim McLaughlin, Managing Director of business development company Axial. And I'd just like to say what a pleasure it's been to have the opportunity to appear on Business Connections Live.
Subscribe and be part of the Business Connections Live TV online community for free.
Business Connections Live TV every Wednesday 6 p.m. GMT, or catch up on the Business Connections Live TV YouTube channel.
Make certain your business is connected with Business Connections Live TV.